If we're looking to train and develop mind-body skills, then the foundation for the whole project is the mind-body connection, or the mind-body principle. This is simply the idea that your subjective experience is reflected in what your body is doing, how it's functioning. In other words, how you think, feel and act is reflected in your physiology. By physiology, I mean the set of processes going on in the body and also the brain, and also the communication systems that regulate body activity, that keep the body running within healthy bounds. The mind-body connection works both ways. Your physiological functioning affects your subjective experience, and how you think and feel affects your physiology. The mind-body connection is important for understanding what emotions fundamentally are. They're responses that help you to adapt to circumstances. Say you're walking home alone late one night when someone pulls a knife and asks you to hand over your money. Probably you'll have a fear response. Your heart pounds, your muscles go tight, or maybe they go to jelly, you freeze up. Or maybe you feel an urge to turn and run. If you do run, your fear is probably going to help you run faster. That's why it's called the fight or flight response. It's preparing your body for action. Another example, you're late for work one day and your boss calls you into his office. Since you've already been warned about being late, you have a similar response, fear. Your heart pounds and you tighten up. Another example, you're asked to give a presentation to a company meeting in a month's time. You don't like being the centre of attention at the best of times, and you hate the idea of standing in front of all the bosses. Again, you have a fear response with physical changes, maybe tightening up, maybe sweating, but this time maybe much milder because it's still a month away. Trouble is, you're still feeling the same later that night when you're in bed trying to get to sleep. So, 3 examples of stress, all sharing common features and all demonstrating the mind-body connection. Actually, the third one may be the most minor stress, unless you really hate public speaking. But it can cause the most trouble because it's extended in time. And the stress response doesn't have to feel like anxiety or fear to be a problem. A lot of low-level but ongoing stress can leave you stuck in an agitated, over-aroused state, unable to calm down, unable to sleep well, unable to focus properly and think clearly, and unable to enjoy the good things in life. For example, you have a deadline for a project that you're working on, and you're working long hours in order to meet that deadline. Even when you've finished for the day, you can find it hard to switch off and relax, turn your mind to other things. The main point here is that stress triggers a physiological change. That in itself is not necessarily a bad thing. I think there is such a thing as good stress, but it is a problem if it feels really uncomfortable, or if it happens too often, or if it goes on too long, or if you get stuck in some particular state and lack the flexibility to get out of it. Whatever the case, we can say that there are certain physiological patterns that are associated with problem states. Conversely, there are other physiological patterns that are associated with solutions, how you want to feel, the mental resources you want to be able to access. And what you need is the ability to guide your physiology away from the problem states and into the more favourable states, from which it's easier to access the resources and positive emotions that you want. So, the mind-body connection is the broad principle that we're working under. But how specifically does physiology change? What specific physiological patterns can be seen in problem states, and what other patterns in solution states or resource states? Well, in recent years, neuroscience has been discovering much about the way that the stress response works and the way that emotions work. And by drawing on this knowledge and leveraging this knowledge, we can find the most effective methods for stress management.